Hey there everybody, Brian Bruce, the voice of the Kansas City T-Bones with Miles Wolff, the commissioner of the American Association, in town for the league meetings, also the founder and longtime editor of Baseball America for 18 years. And Miles, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate you coming down to KC and to talk to us as well, so thanks.
Brian, my pleasure. Great to be here.
Well, thank you. Well, we have you're a guy who's been around baseball for a long, long time, and I know you're a pretty modest guy, but you've pretty much seen it all and done it all over your years. So a lot of things I kind of wanted to kind of pick your brain on and get a better insight of what you've been, where you've been, things you've done. First off, of course, independent baseball. You know, you founded modern independent baseball 18 years ago in 1993. So what aspect then of the baseball landscape prompted you to decide that this is something we need?
Well, I'd been in affiliated baseball with the Atlanta Braves for a lot of years. And we love being in baseball, but I always felt we were cheating our fans because the managers would come in and the farm directors too. We're not here to win, we're here to develop players. Well, I always think fans like to see their team win. And I thought if we could do it on our own, get players that were hungry, wanted to win, were playing for my team as opposed to playing to get to the next level, it could be a pretty appealing product.
Well, here we are 18 years later, 2011, just about to get set for, an expansion in the league, and the expansion has already occurred. We're just about set for games to begin in May. So 18 years later, how is that kind of idea and brainchild you had back then, how does the status quo compare to what you maybe thought it would become?
Well, I think we just hoped it would survive that first year. We didn't know. We didn't know if the fans would come. We didn't know where we'd get players, if players would want to play for us. So the fact that it survived for 18 years, it's thrived in many cities. I think it's gone beyond anything we ever dreamed possible.
Well, it's been fantastic. And another thing is, like we talked about, you've been an owner. You've been around baseball in several different capacities, but an owner, and I even wrote these down because I knew and we remember them all. But Durham, North Carolina, Butte, Montana, Asheville, North Carolina, Utica, New York, Pulaski, Virginia, Quebec City, Burlington, North Carolina. So of all the places you've been as an owner, what was the most rewarding experience that comes to mind?
Well, certainly the Durham Bulls, the movie Bull Durham being made, that was, certainly the thing that really clicked and was great. But the last 12 years I owned Quebec, my first ownership of an independent club where I was in charge, and that's been so rewarding too, because it's fun to be able to get your players to, the reason we created independent baseball, to win, to try to do all this. So in Quebec City, to turn on a French-speaking population where baseball had failed in Montreal has been really rewarding too. So I'd have to say the Bulls and Quebec City.
Well, great segue there, Miles, because you talked about the Durham Bulls and the movie Bull Durham and Kevin Costner and all the fame of that movie. What kind of impact do you think that movie had on your experience there, or just basically minor league baseball in general?
I think minor league baseball in general had a big influence. I think it opened it came out in 1987 or 88, I sometimes forget which of the exact years, but many people throughout the country didn't know what minor league baseball was, and they came out to this movie, and all of a sudden, hey, that's fun. The minors really started expanding, started growing. People wanted to own teams then where it was really pretty difficult to find owners. So I think that sort of opened the nation's eyes to the joys of minor league baseball, both the good things and the bad things. But it was, I think it was terribly important for the minor league baseball.
Well, like I said, you're a well-rounded individual. You've published several books as well, and one I wanted to ask you about was Lunch at the 5 and 10 that you published back in 1970. It was about the Greensboro sit-ins with African-American students. Can you enlighten us more on what that situation was at that time and what the book talked about?
Sure. Well, it got started, I was in graduate school at the University of Virginia in Southern history, and wasn't loving it, and so I needed to do a master's thesis. And this is mid to late 60s, and the Greensboro sit-ins were not recognized. That was really the first, I would say, the spark that set the civil rights movement off. You'd had Rosa Parks in 1956 when she did the bus, but nothing happened from that. But the sit-ins sort of clicked, and students could do it. It So all across the country, within 2 weeks, lunch counters all over the South, people were sitting in. And if anything, I think it led to the sort of student involvement in the anti-Vietnam demonstrations in the mid to late 60s, because it showed the power of a group of people, and particularly young students who, you couldn't threaten them with their job or anything. So it was really a very interesting thing and period, and it just, I got to interview the students who sat in and what caused them to do it. So it was really a fun master's thesis to do.
Well, it's an amazing project that you finished there, and an important one as well. And speaking of not just books you've published, but also let's turn it to Baseball America a little bit. You founded and were the chief editor of Baseball America from 1981 through 99. Talk about that experience and how the publication grew and changed over the years.
Well, grew up as a baseball fan. The Sporting News quote was our Bible. Everybody, if you love baseball, you read the Sporting News. And in the mid to late 70s, they got away from baseball, and particularly minor league baseball, to covering it. They used to have box scores of all AA and AAA games, and they were getting away from it to an all-sports format. And there was this void, and a fella in British Columbia, Kelowna, BC, started a publication of something called All America Baseball News, and it was a germ of something. And we talked to him and got him to come to North Carolina, changed the name, and just started emphasizing minor league and college baseball, and it sort of took over where the Sporting News was 20 years before.
What were the biggest challenges or obstacles you faced during your 18 years as the editor and founder of
I was the publisher.
Publisher.
The editor was Alan Simpson,
Okay.
who was just great. Surviving publications are a tough business anyway, so how do you get subscriptions, how do you get advertising, all the business aspects, not much different than, in fact, running a minor league baseball team. Getting people to know your products there and buy it and like it. But as I say, it grew and became the sort of voice for minor league baseball and big league baseball in many ways.
Absolutely. Miles Wolff here, and we'll be right back with segment number 2 of the interview.